What are some current hot topics around records management?
Current hot topics, I think, and it's been a hot topic for a while, is artificial intelligence.
Yep.
Everyone wants to talk about what is it, how do you use it, what does it mean to the organization. The only thing that I can say wholeheartedly around it is familiarize yourself with it, understand what it is and what it's not, how it works, what happens to the conversations on the back end. Don't put any of your private information out there because it's going to become public. But a lot of people don't recognize that. But also, I did a workshop a while ago on this, and at the end of it, I said, whatever you do, guide it, don't hide it. And what I meant by that was, if you try to ignore it, like we did back in the day with social media, it was like, oh no, we'll ignore it. Nobody's going to do anything. It erupted in organizations and then disrupted organizations. And it was really around, okay, put a policy in place. If your policy is you can use it for these things, great. If your policy is there's no use of it, that's great. But you have to give guidance to your organization on what it is that you're expecting. Because if you don't, that's when you really trip up and get in trouble.
Absolutely.
So that's a very big hot topic. There's also a lot of, one of the things I think is interesting right now that I did a few years ago that I don't know why I didn't do, and this is kind of a little sweet sauce that I'll give, is I took a copy of the retention schedule and I started applying data classifications to each record type, which to my knowledge had never been done. And I'm like, this is something so simple. It's a record type. There's a classification, whether it's public, confidential, whatever. Why would I not do it that way? Then if I'm applying retention to systems, I'm also classifying the data. This is just something that, to me, it was a hot topic, and so I like to share that with people.
Yeah, it's really good.
I think it was pretty groundbreaking in my mind. If somebody else has done that, then I apologize, and I didn't know. But it was just like this, wow, if we're going to partner, let's do it. That was one. Also, there's a lot of talk right now around retention schedules, and it's from simplification to oversimplification and then getting more detailed. And the only thing I can say is make sure it's easy. I'm a huge proponent of getting rid of as many event-based triggered retentions because they're a pain. When the technical team comes in, they're like, well, how do I start to apply this retention and when do I start the clock? And it's very difficult to maintain. And I had a really great conversation with a good friend of mine, Wendy McLean, past president of ARMA. And we were talking about this, and we were, we were kind of like in this good banter of, intellectual thinking. And she was like, yeah, but life of a facility, we should be able to really think through what is the average life of a facility? Is it 200 years? And then we could put a retention on it without having to have that. And it was really just groundbreaking, and it resonated with me. And I was like, wow, I've only been doing these other things where it's, let's say there's a record type that's current year plus 7. I'm like, but current year, why don't we just add a year to it so you cover the full year and make it 8 years? There's your retention. So I think that we're starting to rethink how we have thought for so long, because it was black and white, and we're getting into the gray, and we want to make it easy, because when we overcomplicate things, people don't use it. We make it more difficult for ourselves, especially when it comes to disposition.
And there's no, you put event plus 7, life of, it's never going to get reviewed regardless. It's going to stick around forever.
Now, I think the other thing is there's this massively broad scale of organizational maturities, right? You have some organizations that have been doing this stuff for years, and they're really mature and they have great processes. And you have some, they may have been around just as long, if not longer, but they don't have the same foundation in place or mentality. And when you go into any session, whether it's a 1-hour session at lunch, whether it's a conference at AIM or ARMA or whatever it is that you've got in your plan, I would say keep an open mind and adapt that thought process to your organization. I had a really great conversation with another colleague, and we were talking about how, the more that we're in this, there's a time where you feel like, oh, I just can't do anything else. when you're going to conferences. And we challenge each other. We're like, you know what? We're going to learn one thing from every session that we go to. If we only learn one thing, we at least learn something. But we also want to take it, and even if we disagree, we can take that and tweak it. So when I do a lot of presentations, I like to make sure that that content that I'm giving is prefaced with, this is what I've seen be successful for me. This may not work for you. Take it, own it, tweak it, make it something that's going to work, but also ask questions. And you really learn that through trial and error. So I think Hot Topics we're getting full circle to things that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I keep talking about AI, and I'm like, we did this with social media. It's kind of the same concept. It's a little bit of a bigger beast, but we still have to do the same thing when those types of things pop up in organizations.